All right, Thursday, almost there. Welcome to Frontline, 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. So we begin tonight with some breaking news from Providence, Rhode Island, where sources close to the investigation say that police have identified a suspect and they have issued a warrant for his arrest. Now, sources say the suspect is a Portuguese national, and it does appear to be linked to the MIT professor shooting. We are continuing to follow this developing story. Also, the Kennedy Center board sending a letter to absolutely send the left into a tailspin today, unanimously voting to rename the facility the Trump Kennedy Center. Keep crying, Libs. And it's Epstein File Eve. Tomorrow, the DOJ is required by law to release the files and are reportedly busy redacting thousands of pages ahead of tomorrow's deadline. I guess if you wait to the last minute, it only takes a minute. We're going to have a lot more of this in the show. But first, it's super weird when you compare what policies Democrats pass and when, and how closely it lines up to the negative effects on the economy. We got the receipts. Let's do this. Look, part of what we do here, actually most of what I like to do, is give you the knowledge and ammunition to absolutely crush liberals anytime they try to argue with you in their beliefs and anything else, while also doing news stuff, of course, Newsmax, obviously. I see no reason to change that today, so I'm here to report that inflation came in lower than expected, 2.7 instead of the expected 3.1. And even the CNN economists were forced to admit how good a number that was.
I mean, I was surprised it was a better number than anyone was expecting. Look, inflation's been very high. It's stayed high. It has not been coming down. But, you know, people were expecting it to be above 3%. It was well below 3%.
What would you know? And the rest of the libs, because they couldn't actually attack him on the merits of the issue because Trump has basically proved them all wrong every single time. They attacked him on made-up things.
This is not how everyday people are experiencing this economy or the country. People are scared. They are worried. They see a bunch of things that are happening that seem completely out of control. They're seeing shootings happening all over the place.
Shootings. First off, all those shootings are happening in gun-free zones, mostly in blue-controlled cities. But yeah, people are actually scared, but not of what you think, Van Jones. Joe Scarborough capitalized us on a very, very carefully crafted way, too.
To fact check most of this stuff he's saying, he's still on this whole greatest economy ever kick, and gas prices have no, gas is around $3 a gallon everywhere you go. Inflation's not down.
Well, Joe is right about one thing. Inflation is not technically down. That would actually be deflation, but it is up by far less than it was under Joe Biden. So yes, it's moving in a downward trend, but he conveniently left out why people are still hurting. Let me show you something here. You want to know why? I'll tell you. Check this thing out, okay? This is the total inflation since January of 2019. Trump leaves office. Nearly 30% increase since 2019. Your dollar from January of 2019 is worth 70 cents today. That's the pain. So let's break down where the bulk of that pain came from. You see this line right here? That's where Trump 45 left office and Biden came in. Carry that over to the next line. This is all Biden's presidency. And this is where Trump came back in. So this is a 22% rise during Joe Biden for the cost to live. Now, this 2%, 2.7% number, that's what they're talking about. This represents the part of the graph for the number that came out today, which all things considered is pretty good, even though it outperformed the estimates of supposed to be 3.1%. And the left wants to make it seem that Trump's tariffs are to blame for this 22% inflation that happened before the tariffs. See, Trump has actually brought some prices back down to almost where they were before Biden, and in some sectors like gas and things like that. For example, when Trump left office, gas was about $2.50 a gallon, which shot up to a national average of $3.50 during the time. Biden had both the House and the Senate. He was doing whatever he wanted, passing things like this Green New Deal trash. And then in January of 2022, what happened then? The number one Republican talking point was Joe Biden's driving gas prices too high. Because he was. What does Joe Biden do? Check this out. He starts draining the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. That's meant for a crisis or wartime. But he did it for political gain during the midterms, right around here, because the midterms were here. He drained the stock from 650 million barrels down to 350 million barrels in reserve. And yes, gas prices did actually fall during that time, but it was the supply surge. And they crept back up slightly until they started to go back down under Trump, because Trump policies came in and had actual deflation from that, which is almost unheard of. See, Trump showed these during his speech last night for a lot of things. Egg prices down, hotel rates, new used cars, there's your gasoline, airfare, prescription drugs, sporting events, all these. Actually, not regular drugs. Those drugs actually are way up because we keep blowing up the supply lines off of the coast of Venezuela. But all of these things are down. They're not up by less. They're actually down, which is deflationary. But according to the liberal media, all those industries are and should be up, affected by tariffs, but they're not. The real reason we have 2.7% inflation, well, I'll just let Scott Besson tell you.
That imported goods, the inflation has actually been flat. Inflation is up because of the service economy and services, so that has nothing to do with tariffs.
There it is. Services, not imported gadgets or widgets or thingamabobs from China or Vietnam or Nicaragua or wherever. It's the service industry. And why is that? This is both a little bit good and bad, but because real wages for people in the service industry, by the way, are rising. People are finally getting paid more for their skill set, something that didn't happen under Biden. Real wages actually plummeted under his presidency. Here's why. One, because a lot of the service industries have a declining labor force, meaning more demand because more college graduates nowadays got degrees in like basket weaving and lesbian dance theory rather than HVAC or architecture or carpentry, real things that build stuff. So they don't know how to build anything, which leads me back to Van Jones's original comment of people being scared. Here's why they're scared. Whoa, what is that? You may not feel this economy is getting better yet, but because that's the median separation of household income on the bottom blue line right there and the median average home price. The reason home costs more or less, tons more actually in large part, is because of the shrinking number of people able to build them. And wouldn't you know, Obama, right before that massive jump on that graph back in 2010, he cut trade school and funding for vocational schools assistance by 20%. And he took it out of those core procedures that we needed, like building stuff, and poured it into academia for liberal arts degrees that are now saddling generations with over $1 trillion in student loan debt with no viable career paths to repay them. Turns out gender studies doesn't pay you a salary. Now, I'm going to prove this to you, folks. Look, I'm a real person, okay? I was in construction for many years. I recently just built my 3,000 square foot farmhouse for $140,000. Now, you're probably shaking your head like, no way. But I did it with my own two hands. I have my own sawmill. Look, I build my own septic, my well, my foundation, my interior, exterior, soup to nuts, done for $140,000 in 80 days because I was the labor. Now, if I had hired someone to do this, it would have cost me an additional, and I was quoted on this, $400,000 just in labor. And I would have had to wait an extra year because there was a shortage of labor, which is precisely why Trump is pushing trade schools. Weird how that lines up, right? To bring the single greatest driver of our inflation right now back down, which lastly leads me to his beef with Jerome Powell and the Fed. Because, look, you can train all the carpenters you want, or HVAC guys or whatever else, but if you're paying 6% for a mortgage on what would have been, in my case, $140,000 to build, $540,000 mortgage costs to build a home. If I'm paying 6% rather than 2% on it, the cost of that mortgage is $2,500 at 2% versus $3,800 a month at 6%. At 2% mortgage rates, that $1,300 that I would save goes back into the economy rather than towards interest payments to some big bank or the Fed. Do you see how many factors are required to fix a broken economy? I didn't even touch all of them here. But Trump is he's literally addressing every single one of these simultaneously. But when I hear someone like Joe Scarborough, there's some other former or current congressman who's been in government their entire life, oh, Trump's not fixing it fast enough. I just laugh because these people have absolutely no idea what drives an economy. They've never signed the front of a check. Trump's been doing all these things at the same time. He's incentivized trade schools. He stopped printing money. He brought production back domestically. He increased oil production, removed burdensome regulations and things like that, got rid of illegal immigrants, driving up the supply and demand factor of housing. He's cutting regulations, everything. All these things that The View and Morning Joe scoffs at because the left has no understanding of the intricacies of the economy. Everything they do has always destroyed the economy because people like Whoopi Goldberg was too busy filming Sister Act to take an economy class, or swing a hammer herself for that matter. So the next time you turn on a TV to one of these squawking crows crying, Trump doesn't know what he's doing, maybe ask them why they think that. And if they do, what industry did they dominate in before that talking head position that they're in now to base their opinion on? None. Peter Navarro, White House Senior Counselor for Trade and Manufacturing. Sir, I'm sure you got something to say about last night's speech.
Well, let me tell you, I just like that speech you just gave. Pretty good analysis. The number you missed, and this is the most important number in what happened today with the CPI, is 1.2%. You know what that is? That's the annualized rate of inflation we would have if what we got today goes forward over the next 12 months. Now, what does that mean, 1.2%? The Fed target is 2%. Okay? So we're already prospectively way below the Fed target, which raises the question, Carl, what the hell has the Fed been doing keeping interest rates up when we've been telling them that we're getting the job done with our policies to bring things down, and all they're doing is going, yeah, we don't believe that. Well, believe, brothers and sisters on the Fed, because this was a very good print. Here's another question. How many economists surveyed by Bloomberg does it take to screw up a forecast? The answer, Carl, is 61. They surveyed 61 economists, and every friggin' one of those got the number wrong, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm having deja vu, Carl, from the first term when we're out there, the boss is he's cutting taxes, he's deregulating, he's getting drill baby drill going, we're putting tariffs on to bring jobs home, and we're telling everybody that's going to grow fast and take inflation down. Nobody's believing us.
And then it happens.
4 years later, it was all done, beautiful, tied up in a bow. Right. And now we're doing it again with the boss at the helm, and they're not believing us again. And look, Carl, you did that really nice number with how much it costs, a 2% versus a 6% mortgage. Well, guess what? The Fed, because they're holding up rates the way they are,
yeah,
that's hurting people.
Well, but that's,
so
I want to bring that chart back real quick.
Print.
Yeah, I want to bring that chart back real quick, if we could put that up. I mean, you look at these two lines. The bottom line is the median annual income of the average household in America. The red line is home ownership. You've got record highs of age. Like, people aren't buying their first home till like 40 or 42 now, and it used to be before 30.
I mean, look, let me give you another number, okay? You're going to love this number. 1 million illegal aliens, 1% increase in rents and housing costs.
Wow.
20 million illegal aliens came in during the 4 years of Biden. That means it's a 20% hit on housing costs alone from illegal immigration. And it gets worse, because that's a national average. Most of that illegal aliens went into where? The blue states, the sanctuary cities. So places like New York and Chicago, they're looking at a 40% increase in housing costs because of illegal immigration pushed by the Democrats, and then the Democrats say it's our fault.
Right.
Damn.
But, sir,
I mean, Carl, come on.
To your point, though, I want to put this chart up real quick. People are leaving all these blue states. Like, you have a massive number of people who are saying the rents are too high.
Not the illegal aliens, although they are now, Carl.
They're going there.
We got them on buses, boats, and planes.
Right, but
I take your point.
All those blue states that you see on your screen right now, that's where people are going to. All the red states are where people are leaving because they don't like liberal policies of the ones you're talking about.
But think about this. I'm an illegal alien. It's like, okay, I'll go to New York or Chicago. Why? Because they're going to try to take federal dollars to give me free health care, to give me free housing. I mean, it's like people in New York City who have been struggling there, and the working class MAGA types, they look around and they go, how come those folks got better housing than we do? And it's like crazy stuff. But here's the point. The point is that this administration is going through each of the 4 or 5 major sectors we have to get inflation down, whether it's housing, whether it's healthcare, whether it's transportation and energy, food, and all of that.
Right.
And we are full spectrum hitting it with a strategy, going sector by sector, and we are getting this thing done. And the thing about it is, it's like people have to distinguish clearly between getting prices down in absolute value versus getting the inflation rate down. Okay? That the goal is, we love to get prices down in absolute terms. We did that with things like eggs. But if we can get inflation rate down to 1.2% or below 2%, like the number says today, boy, that is a victory. Now, people are feeling pain.
Right.
We understand that. And we're not going to tell them they're not. But we have to understand that if they want to alleviate the pain, it's going to be Trump that's doing it, not the Democrats.
Correct. Yeah, and the other thing, too,
Democrats cause inflation, Trump cures inflation.
And real wages are rising faster than they have in the last decade. Peter Navarro, we got to leave it right there,
and
sir.
That's the key to affordability. You're great, Carl. Love you, buddy.
Thank you, sir. See you
Carry
soon.
on.
All right, coming up, the DOJ has to release the Epstein files by law tomorrow. But will we ever see them? The timing is a bit suspicious. I'll tell you my theory later. But first, K Jr. and Dr. Oz are stepping up to shield America's youth from the radical left's freaky, weird, dangerous gender experiments, banning so-called gender-affirming care that mutilates kids and ignores biology.
Federal agencies urge every family to have an emergency radio. During any disaster, electrical power may get cut. The emergency radio gives you the vital information you need. Newsmax wants you to have the Dynamo Emergency Band Radio. It doesn't need batteries and works in any emergencies. It retails for $30. You can get it with the free offer. Call or go online and get the emergency radio today. Your life may depend on it.
There's nothing worse than losing your dog before their time.
That's why I created Dr. Marty Nature's Blend, designed to help dogs with everything from digestive issues to itching, even moving better.
Nature's Blend works because it's freeze-dried. So instead of destroying the nutrients with high heat, they all get right into your dog's body.
Take it from a veterinarian with over 50 years of experience saving dogs' lives. I have never seen a food make this much impact on a dog's health.
For a limited time, get up to 54% off Dr. Marty Nature's Blend, plus a free gift with our special TV offer. Call or go to drmartypets.com/TV. They killed her brother. They shot her dog. And they took her hostage for 400 days and terrifying nights. They raped her. They put guns to her head. They starved her. These are the stories of Israeli women attacked by Hamas. If you are supporting Hamas and radicalized Palestinians, this is what you are supporting. Choose freedom, not terror.
This morning, I signed a declaration. Sex-rejecting procedures are neither safe nor effective treatment for children with gender dysphoria.
Why do we need rules for that? Well, here we are, 2025. No more transgender for kids, thank God. RFK making America's children healthy again, announcing a move to ban transgender drugs and surgeries for children. I mean, this is huge. Shouldn't have to be here, but we are. Just so you know, the left is already crying about this. Libs calling this, oh, it's life-saving care. They were throwing a fit before this announcement yesterday.
Under this bill, doctors and parents will spend 10 years in prison for saving kids' lives. If trans kids need care, they should have the freedom to get it.
Your kids' medical care is none of their damn business. We should call this obsession with your kids and what treatment they're getting in the pediatrician's office what it is. It's creepy. It's a creepy obsession, and we've had to deal with it for years.
All right, sir. Yeah, obviously this is a big deal. All right, nobody really wanted to address this for in anything in the Biden administration, and now we're Trump's coming in. Senator RFK Jr. said, no, you can't get a tattoo until you're 18. Go ahead and do your own thing when you're there, but not until then.
I'm having trouble hearing. I'm so sorry. I can't hear you, Carl.
Dr. J, you got me? Okay.
Well, I'll just say my reaction to this. I mean, it's what has happened, Carl, over the years is that there's been a lie told that there's a tremendous amount of evidence that if you don't trans your child, that the child will commit suicide. Well, that's just simply false. What's false about it is not that is that the assertion is that scientific evidence proved that fact when that wasn't a fact to begin with. There's been report after report in the UK, in Scandinavia, and now the United States, a fantastic HHS report that demonstrates that it was never established scientifically that you have a huge amount of evidence that if you don't trans your kid, they're going to kill themselves. It's just not true. Well, and so that's a big step.
Yeah, no,
today we shattered that illusion.
That's huge. And the other factor, the other part about this whole thing is that you have a nearly 50% suicide rate among people who transition. And there's no evidence to show that the suicide rate goes down after that. It actually goes up after children transition. So under what basis does anybody have any rules to fight here other than parents should be making these medical decisions for their kids and they shouldn't be allowed to do irreversible harm before they're 18?
I'm sorry, Carl. The audio cut off, but let me just reiterate. Just to point to parents that are listening to this, don't let your pediatrician get the kids alone in a room with you, alone with the kid in a room, and say and essentially tell them that they need to be trans in order to be safe. It's that scientific evidence doesn't warrant that. What we always should have done is do no harm. We should have protected these kids by giving them the care they need, the therapy, sort of like the normal kind of parenting you would expect, rather than saying to them, "Oh, you're in the wrong body." God didn't put them in the wrong body, Carl.
Right.
They were born in the right body, and there's lots and lots of kids that think they're tomboys. That there's nothing wrong with that. The issue is just you can't medicalize it and then pretend there's science where that doesn't exist. And the importance of today's announcement is that we are no longer going to say they're no longer anyone's going to be able to say, oh, well, the scientific evidence proves that you have to trans them or else they're going to kill themselves.
Yeah.
There's a report, and I recommend everyone who's listening to read it, that the Health and Human Services put out, 300-page report. It documents how we got to this mass illusion. We're going to look back at this episode in history of essentially mutilating kids, and we're going to say, well, it's just like the frontal lobotomies. It's a dark moment in medical history, and I'm really, really proud to be part of an administration that has put an end to it.
Yeah, well, Dr. J. Bhattacharya, we appreciate it very much, sir. Great work on all this stuff. Thank you. All right, coming up, there is a new wave of Trump derangement syndrome going around, one like we've never seen before, thanks to ICE agents doing their jobs, abiding by the law and things like that. Wait till you see what the libs did in Boston last night. We get that in our Culture Clash next.
Hi, folks. I'd like to tell you about YRefi. Did you know that as an accredited investor, when you invest in YRefi, your interest rate is fixed? And did you know that you can invest from 1 to 5 years and you can spread your investment over those terms to best suit your needs? And you have the freedom to take your monthly interest income or reinvest it, whatever you choose. When you invest in YRefi, your interest is calculated daily, you're paid monthly, and should you need your money back early, there is a liquidity feature. Would you like more information? All you have to do is call 877-80-INVEST. That's 877-80-INVEST, or log on to investyrrefi.com. That's investyrrefi.com for complete details. And make sure you review the private placement memorandum and scan this QR code to view the disclosure at your leisure. Why refi? Investing in America's future.
We're talking to people today about investments. Let's see if we can get somebody. Excuse me, sir. Do you have a retirement account?
I do. I'm invested in some annuities.
Fixed income? How is that?
It was better a few years ago. Each year, it buys less and less, barely keeping up.
That's where gold can make a difference. Unlike fixed payouts, gold rises with inflation, so you're not stuck with a low fixed payment.
So gold isn't stuck in the past like my annuity?
Don't let inflation erode your retirement savings. Invest in gold. Invest with Noble Gold Investments.
As a cardiologist, when I put my patients on a statin to reduce cholesterol, I also tell them it can deplete their CoQ10 levels. I recommend taking Cunol CoQ10. Cunol has 3 times better absorption than regular CoQ10. Cunol, the brand I trust.
I was tired of sitting on the sidelines. Now, thanks to Jointivia, I'm back in the swing of things. Wait, $70 for a refill?
You gotta try Single Care. Just look up your prescription, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and save.
Really?
Really. Single Care crushes the cost of my prescription, almost as much as I'm crushing Chad.
Unbelievable.
See why more people are saving with Single Care. Common side effects include shockingly lower prices, excessive fist bumps, and humbling guys named Chad.
For pain in multiple spots like here, here, or here, Salonpas patches stick firmly and remove comfortably once your pain is gone. Salonpas. It's good medicine.
Patriots. America was built by people who believed in something greater than themselves, something worth protecting. Today, one of America's top growing industries is political campaigns, a multi-billion-dollar movement powered by tech, data, and the American people. Meet FullPack, a tech platform trusted by thousands of campaigns nationwide to connect directly with voters. FullPack is expected to begin trading on NASDAQ soon, under the ticker GOTV for Get Out the Vote. But before we begin trading, we're offering a limited number of shares to patriots like you for $5 each, providing your portfolio exposure to this fast-growing market. Capitalism helped build America into the shining beacon on the hill. Now you can own a stake in the heartbeat of America. Visit gotv.com/invest or call 877730-GOTV to learn more.
Okay, ICE has brought out a new level of TDS. First, you've got progressives who think they're God, like Mayor and congressional candidate Daniel Biss from Evanston, Illinois, looks like Gumby, out there fighting with ICE agents.
So a few minutes ago, a bunch of ICE and CBP agents were here. I stood face to face with Greg Bovino right here, and he threatened us, said he's going to continue the enforcement. Of course, what he said was he's keeping us safe from violence, but what we know is that the violence is being perpetrated by federal agents. Stay alert, stay active, keep yourself safe. If you're trained in rapid response, be out and about, and always remember the ICIRR hotline.
This is what you get when kids don't get hit in the face with a dodgeball. They're not threatening you. They're doing their job, okay? And then you've got people who think they're out there making a difference by dumping ice in the Boston Harbor last night on the anniversary of the Boston Tea Party, screaming, "No kings, no tariffs, no ice." I mean, honestly, great job, guys. Entirely missed the nuance of dumping tea in the harbor, which was that the colonists didn't want to pay taxes on it anymore. You guys, you morons, went to 7-Eleven, bought ice, which you paid a 6.25% sales tax on, by the way, 3 times what the colonists waged a revolutionary war over, all to walk over with that bag of ice and throw it down into the Boston Harbor. For no reason. You inconvenience absolutely nobody, and you dump frozen water into more water at your own expense. Way to show them. Newsmax contributor Kay Smythe and comedian and host of Uncovered on LFA TV, Shawn Farash. Kay, you're a former Brit. You got to be laughing at this.
I gotta be laughing. So I'm just thinking about, like, if all of those people got together and actually worked with any immigrants, like if they actually understood the immigration process, they'd probably be able to help a heck of a lot more people than what they just did, which was help absolutely no one. Same for that lanky bean sprout of I don't know, is he supposed to be a politician or something? I don't know what he's supposed to be. He looked like a little sad little drama queen who doesn't understand what he's doing. Because, yeah, the immigration process is always easier under Republicans. It's always way more streamlined. And I say this having done it like under 2 Democrats and now under Trump both times. It's always easier under Trump. It's just so sad that these pathetic, like mostly just old white
Shawn,
people have nothing better to do with their
these
time.
people dumped water in water and then high-fived each other.
Well, can I just say something? I think they're contributing to the rise of the ocean levels, right? I think we should stop. They should be arrested for that, right? Because now where I used to live on Long Island and, of course, places like Miami, which, I mean, if the Miami Dolphins got washed away, nobody would be upset. But, hey, they're contributing to rising sea levels now, right? Because when you have the ice and the water and it makes the water go up and the whole thing, you know.
Science.
And it's funny that you pointed out that they paid double the tax that the colonists revolted over. Triple the tax that the colonists revolted over, and they threw frozen water and not frozen water. And it just, what do you, find something better to do. You know, go for a run.
Well, they don't have jobs, so, you know. All right, of course they always revert back to the white supremacy, though, okay, when they're talking about ICE. Take a look at this freak show dressed up like a Kiss concert or something.
ICE needs to get out of our city. Stop deporting innocent people. You know, they're killing people, and it's horrible.
Who are they killing?
Just if you're not white, they're trying to get you. You know, it doesn't matter if you're documented or not. Just like if you're colored, you know, it's just white supremacy.
That person's mentally ill.
Yeah, that was, okay, you just stole my comment. Like, all we're seeing right now is mental illness, like, writ large. This is what happens when universities start charging and even just, like, promoting artsy degrees. Like, this is what happens, what we're seeing right now. This girl is so stupid, she doesn't understand the problem she's protesting. She not only sounds like a clown, but she decided to dress up like a clown as if that was going to make anyone take her more seriously. And I don't know, it's just really sad. Like, it's so sad. Like, when I came to this country, this didn't used to happen, guys. Things weren't this dumb. Please tell me they weren't this dumb.
No,
maybe they were, and I just ignored it.
It's like people who used to go to mental asylums, they started handing them degrees instead of diagnoses. Speaking of libs losing their mind, Katie Couric, all right, seems to think that right-wing media is to blame for spreading fake news. Roll this, Shawn.
It's very difficult to discern for, I think, the average news consumer what is truth and what isn't. For the most part, more progressive outlets are really, you know, and maybe they go overboard sometime. I mean, people can quibble with the way they're reporting, but I think they are trying to adhere to what happened, the facts, and what it means.
But Shawn, diss you, Katie Couric, back in 2016 when you had to apologize for your own fake news for a massively misleading documentary on guns?
Oh, my goodness. Unbelievable. You know, it's like they never passed their own tests. You have Elizabeth Warren, who pretended to be Native American for a long time, and she wasn't. By the way, just an aside from the hypocrisy of this whole thing, I am demanding an investigation. I want to seize all these people's emails. Who keeps telling members of the left to wear submarine porthole glasses on their faces? Why do they all do this? I don't understand it. Colbert,
it makes
Cuban,
you look smart,
Maddow,
Shawn.
Couric, Rosie O'Donnell and Jim Acosta look like the exact same person at this point in time. But it's hilarious where they say that, oh,
Rachel Maddow and Mark Cuban. I've never seen them in the same room.
Never. The fake news. Oh, right-wing media is spreading fake news. You guys pushed the Russia hoax for like 10 years. All that's nonsense. And they want to say that right-wing media is pushing fake news. Give me a break. And take off those glasses. Find something better.
It's bad. They don't have anything better. Shawn, and they don't actually need them. They just put them on because they like the look of it. I'm surprised they even have lenses in them. Shawn K., pleasure.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, coming up. After a years-long saga, TikTok has signed a deal to divest its U.S. entity into a joint venture controlled by American investors. Details next.
It's the Blue Compass RV annual Blue Tag clearance. Save over 40% on select new RVs during our largest sale of the year. Plus, every RV comes with a 1-year VIP membership to RV Complete, a $5,000 value. Visit us online or in store today.
When it comes to my daily heart health supplement, I've got 3 rules. It's got to be plant-based, it's got to be doctor recommended, And it's got to be Super Beets from Human.
Super Beets is the #1 cardiologist recommended beet brand for heart health support with clinically studied grapeseed extract for nearly 2 times more effective blood pressure support than diet and exercise alone.
Super Beets works. I swear by it, and I know you're going to love it too.
Find out how to get a free month with your first order at livehuman.com.
Every day across the globe, big business agendas go unseen by investors. Things that go against your core values and beliefs. It's time to know your investments. Abortion, alternative lifestyles, gender and identity confusion. If you believe in protecting marriage and life, children, innocence, guarding masculinity, restoring families, defending religious liberty, invest with your values. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Hello, everyone. It's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist, and everyone will know exactly what it's for, who it represents. It's really going to be something special. It's for your favorite president. Get your watch today at gettrumpwatches.com. Please make a great gift. It's Trump time.
Samaritan's Purse is ready to show the love of Christ to people in the most difficult circumstances. But we can't go without you. With your support, we can build homes, heal hearts, provide critical relief, and bring hope to a world in need. Donate now at SamaritansPurse.org. Let's get to work in Jesus' name.
Well, breaking just a little bit ago, TikTok has signed a deal to sell its American unit to American investors, including Oracle and Silver Lake. Now, back in 2020, President Trump issued an executive order demanding the Chinese parent company ByteDance sell TikTok's U.S. operations. Last year, Congress passed a law banning the app unless it was sold. The Supreme Court upheld that law back in January. So, editor-in-chief of Breitbart News, Alex Marlow. Big news. I mean, I personally don't care, but a lot of my producers are really happy about this.
Yeah, I suppose it's an okay thing because Trump's determined to make sure that TikTok is not entirely owned by the CCP, but does exist. Overall, I still think TikTok is a Chinese spy app, and it's really rotting a lot of young Americans' brains, giving them a really false sense of the world, while China uses it to try to harvest our data and learn more about us and distract us from doing any productive stuff. But it's way better off in the hands of Oracle with President Trump's guidance than it was before, and that's a positive.
Yeah. Let's go to the Epstein files, okay? The DOJ has to release these by tomorrow. Do we get everything, or is it just going to be nothing?
Probably not. So I think that, you know, you might have caught that clip on the hard news program known as Jimmy Kimmel Live yesterday, where he asked Kamala Harris about it, which is amazing that he's asking tougher questions than the reporters all of a sudden of Democrats. Maybe the establishment doesn't like Kamala anymore. Maybe that's what that's all about.
No.
But he asked her about it, and she has no answer. So it leads you to believe there's nothing in it that's going to be bad to hurt Trump.
Right. Well, exactly. They would have known. But here, I have a theory. Okay, here's my theory, and you can humor me with my tinfoil hat. Tomorrow is that three-eye atlas we've been talking about. It's going to make its closest path to Earth. Now, I just thought it was a weird coincidence that Congress chose the alleged arrival day of Three-Eye Atlas for the day that the files were supposed to be released. And if you recall, 30 days ago, there was a real possibility this was an alien spaceship. So my whole thought process, and I went down the rabbit hole, and I'm like, hey, did Congress really buy off that this was an alien spaceship and decide, yes, that's the day we'll allegedly make the law to release the Epstein files, and when the spaceship lands, everybody will forget about it?
It's just so interesting because I've always thought of this from the opposite perspective. Is I feel like the alien stuff always seems to come back in the news when the powers that be don't like the current news cycle. So maybe that's what's going on here. But I totally am vibing with where you're coming from, that the timing of we're going to get some stuff from some rare interstellar comet data. It just feels like that could be something where people get wrapped up and discuss that for a few days. It definitely piques a lot of people's curiosities, scratches various erogenous zones. So it's hard to know. I'm just not expecting much. And Carl, most importantly, no one's going to be satisfied with this Epstein news cycle. Trump did not handle it very well. And the left, obviously, I think is just playing games with us at this point. So it's all kind of lamentable.
I mean, somebody better go to jail out of this release. That's all I'm going to say. But you brought...
Hey, man, get someone.
Yeah, exactly. Like somebody's... They didn't traffic children to no one. So...
Yeah, exactly. There's someone there who's guilty. Find someone.
All right, so Kamala Harris you brought her up. So she's telling Americans that we should actually be loving Ketanji Brown Jackson. Roll this.
I urge all of the people who are listening to and watching this interview, this conversation, to read her dissents, because one of the reasons why I was so supportive and advocated for her being on the court is I knew that at this moment in time, she would be in the minority.
Look, no, I can't read her dissents because they're illiterate, and they don't make legal arguments. They make emotional arguments.
That's right. And this was an amazing interview. I watched the whole podcast, which almost nothing was said. So none of you are missing much. It was led by this guy named Jamie Harrison, Carl, who I was told led the DNC at one point. I had forgotten him. So obviously I don't think he must have had much of a tenure. But she's running for president. He's framing her up as a candidate. She's framing herself as a victim of circumstance. That's why she didn't win last time. Remember, she passed on running for governor of my home state of California. And she's trying to push a narrative that she had some sort of a record. And so she's claiming credit for Ketanji Brown Jackson. Harrison said that the best part of her opinions is they have heartbeat. And whatever that means, no one knows what a legal opinion having a heartbeat means. And Kamala's nodding along like this. This is some brilliant point. She's literally nothing to say. And it's just, it's a delight, to be honest with you.
No, it really is. All right, so the FBI and the DOJ, they're slow walked this investigation, something you're very familiar with. The Clinton Foundation and Uranium One, which was when Hillary Clinton was like, hey, Russians, we're going to sell you like a third of our uranium, and don't worry about it. And by the way, we got $1 billion in donations from the Clinton Foundation. My husband gave a speech for $870,000 in Russia.
Yeah, and this is one where, of course, it was a 45-minute speech, though, Carl. So you can do the math on what his rate per minute was on that speech. No, of course, this is the origin of the Russia hoax. People forget this, that the part of the reason why the Russia hoax started, if not the only reason, this was Hillary's main vulnerability. She was the one who was the tool of the Kremlin. She was the one who sold America's uranium reserves to Russian-connected oligarchs. In the meantime, it was 9 figures in donations that were going from flowing into the Clinton Foundation from these exact types of people. Bill Clinton's getting loaded up with speaking fees. No one cares about what Bill Clinton has to say. It's all about access. These are the most corrupt family, and they need to be held accountable. I don't care how far back we have to go. We got to do it.
Yeah. No, otherwise, they're just going to keep doing it. Alex, we got to leave it right there. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, coming up, AOC thinks she can beat J.D. Vance in 28. Okay, next.
Radical jihadists are not done. Iran promises death to America. They've built sleeper terror cells in the U.S. They support terror groups out to destroy Israel, including Hamas, whose founding charter calls for Islam to dominate the world.
The young people have been educated to believe that the most sacred thing they do is stab a Christian in the heart.
The only democracy in the Middle East that supports religious freedom is Israel. Standing for freedom, not terror.
Joining us is Dr. Drew from the Wellness Company with advice for dealing with seasonal colds and flu. Doctor?
Cold and flu season is here, and every year you or a loved one gets sick. Your doctor can't see you. Waiting in a crowded urgent care is brutal. This is a particularly bad cold and flu season, and it's why doctors suggest every family needs an emergency medical kit. Your medical emergency kit is filled with essential prescriptions. It includes antibiotics like generic Z-Pak to get well faster, amoxicillin for pneumonia, strep throat, ear infections, plus prescriptions for nausea and UTIs, and even ivermectin. It's easy. Just match your symptoms to the prescription in your guidebook or call the telemedicine doctor standing by. Take your medication early and feel better faster. Having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care in your home. No waiting to see a doctor, no lines at the pharmacy.
Smart advice. We've shared the website and discount code below to save viewers $45. Order now and your kit will be rushed to your door. Thank you, doctor.
There's nothing worse than losing your dog before their time.
That's why I created Dr. Marty Nature's Blend, designed to help dogs with everything from digestive issues to itching, even moving better.
Nature's Blend works because it's freeze-dried. So instead of destroying the nutrients with high heat, they all get right into your dog's body.
Take it from a veterinarian with over 50 years of experience saving dogs' lives. I have never seen a food make this much impact on a dog's health.
For a limited time, get up to 54% off Dr. Marty Nature's Blend, plus a free gift with our special TV offer. Call or go to drmartypets.com/TV.
Invest in Ukraine now. Ukraine is rebuilding, innovating, and shaping the future. Because Ukraine is the potential. Kyivstar is Ukraine's leading digital operator. Invests in Ukraine's connectivity, entertainment, ride-hailing, healthcare, and innovation. It's time to think opportunity. It's time to think Ukraine now.
You know, WeatherTech isn't just for new cars. No matter how old or new your car is, it deserves WeatherTech. With laser-measured protection for every car on the road, we've got you covered. Because messes don't care what year your car is. Whatever you're driving, we got it. We got it. We got it. Got it. We got it. We got it. We've got it. Oh, we got it. No matter what year your vehicle is, it deserves WeatherTech. Order your American-made protection today at WT.com. We're WeatherTech. You know we got it.
Well, a new Argument Verasite poll has AOC allegedly beating J.D. Vance in 2028. 51% apparently backed AOC to J.D. Vance 49%. But ironically, they oversampled the Democrat voter base on the last election. 52% Democrat and 48% Republican. And J.D. Vance outperformed that by 1 point. So AOC was also asked about her supposed positive numbers. Listen to this.
Do you think that you could beat J.D. Vance in a head-to-head race for president, as polling suggests, in 2028?
Listen, these polls, like 3 years out, are, they are what they are. But let the record show, I would stomp him. I would stomp him.
Please, please. I cannot wait for that debate. It's going to be amazing. Anyway, whatever. Patrick Dorinson, the Common Sense Cowboy, author of the Common Sense Cowboy's Guide to Life, Stories from the Old Guy at the End of the Bar. Great book. All right. Can you imagine that debate?
Well, Carl, there's an old saying, the shallower the creek, the louder the babble. And AOC's about the shallowest creek I've ever heard babble. The fact that she can even come close to beating J.D. Vance is laughable, because I don't even think Democrats would vote for her. But let's just say she does run, and let's say that she gets close. I'm just waiting to see the Democratic primary. You're going to have Gavin Newsom. You're going to have Porky Pritzker. You're going to have Kamala Harris. You're going to have Pete Buttigieg. This is going to be one of the most fun primaries I think we can ever watch. So once again, let's just sit back and grab some popcorn.
It's going to be the greatest content for the show, by the way. All right, Get this. And I know you're going to find this hard to believe, Patrick, but the Somali grocery stores in Minnesota, apparently a bunch of them are closing in the wake of, the ag department cracking down on SNAP and welfare programs and having all that fraud canceled. But they're blaming Trump for it. How weird is that, sir?
Well, gosh, Donald Trump's responsible for everything. We all know that. But what I would change the headline on this to Somali terrorist money laundries are closing, because that's what's actually happening in Minnesota. Let's face it. I mean, these places are nothing more than laundries for money being sent to Al-Shabaab and whoever else they want to send money to. This has gotten so out of hand that even Tim Walz thinks he can do something about it and try and fix it. This guy couldn't fix a flat tire.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Speaking of fraud, though, Bloomberg, Minnesota Home and Community Services, okay? This business was raided today by the FBI days after Minnesota suspended its license, citing fraud. Now, the state pointed to a massive increase in licenses, which had outpaced the demand for services. Now, the state said the need for home and community-based services had only grown by 25% over the past 5 years, but active provider licenses grew by 55%, and new license applications grew by 283%.
Yeah, well, you know, Carl, this whole home care thing, and there's a lot of great people that are doing home care of their own family members. But in California, for example, and Minnesota and other blue states, they've turned it into a union movement. They've unionized these people who are nothing more than relatives, and they're paying them outlandish salaries out of the taxpayers' funds. The fact that this thing's being exposed in Minnesota, one, is not a surprise, because Minnesota seems to be ground zero for corruption in the United States right now. But the fact that we've got this whole racket we've been running for years of you're taking care of your sick parents or a sick aunt, and somehow you're worthy of a full-time salary. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. I'm going to get to this, though. 18 states are now restricting soda and candy on SNAP benefits. Just watch this real quick.
It's not even cool. Like, why they do that? What's the point of food stamps if it's just for real food? I don't know what Trump is doing. I don't know what's going on.
I mean, look, and here's the root of it. If you're on food stamps, you're likely also on government-subsidized health care, which I don't want to pay for you if you have negative health effects from getting too fat by eating candy bars all day.
They're basically getting a government salary for everything from health care to food. Remember what it is. SNAP. Let's go over this for the people out there who are too dumb to know. Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It's not meant to be a type 2 diabetes starter kit. And this is absolutely nonsense of what's happening. And that young woman, she might not know it, but she became the poster child for why these programs have got to be reformed. And the very fact that some blue states are joining in tells you how serious it is and tells you they're scared to death of what it's doing to their budgets.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. You know, I wish I had more time because I really wanted to get to the fact that Eric Swalwell voted less in Congress than somebody who died in the middle of a term. But we're going to have to leave it right there. That guy's...
I thought he was dead.
Yeah, he went somewhere and just didn't show up for votes. Patrick Dorinson, my man, pleasure.
You bet.
All right, before we go, it's Thursday. Comments for Carl. We got some doozies today.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
Derriere, caboose, booty, badunkadunk. No matter what you call it, if you have hemorrhoids, your tushy is no laughing matter. So don't use a cream that treats your rear end like a joke. Get serious relief with Recticare Advanced Hemorrhoidal Cream. Recticare Advanced is seriously effective with 2 powerful medicines for rapid dual-action relief, soothing the uncomfortable swelling, itching, and pain of your hemorrhoids. For serious hemorrhoid relief for your buns, get Recticare Advanced.
Drop is finally here. Drop delivers the weight loss benefits of GLP-1 injections in easy-to-use oral drops, no needles.
That's right. The 2 big drawbacks with weight loss injections are high costs and weekly injections. Drop is flavorless and odorless, so you can just add it to water or your favorite beverage. Drop offers other advantages over injections too. With Drop, you can personalize your dosage based on your weight loss goals.
And because you add Drop to any liquid, there's no concern about injection site infections, bruising, or dosage confusion.
Drop is the easier, safer, cost-effective alternative to help you achieve your weight loss goals without the needles.
Can't find it anywhere? The Wellness Company has it. No consultation needed. Simply order online and use promo code SLIM to save $100. Visit dropthepounds.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at dropthepounds.com/slim.
Hurry in for huge savings going on now at Motorhome Specialist, now with 2 locations. Shop and save on over 1,000 motorhomes, starting at $69,995, only at Motorhome Specialist, the #1 motorhome dealer in the world.
Hi, I'm Steve.
I'm Lee, and we live in North Pole, Alaska.
I was noticing my hearing was not so good, so I got hearing aids. My vision was not as good as it used to be. Got a change in prescription, but I was missing something for my brain. I saw a Prevagen commercial, and I thought that makes sense.
I observed the changes in Steve. I thought I should try that too.
After taking Prevagen, I just didn't have to work so hard.
Prevagen has been the #1 selling brain supplement nationwide for over 10 years.
Hey guys, Viagra is not your only option. Rove Sparks act fast and stay active longer. They aren't pills. Sparks dissolve under your tongue to reach your bloodstream for speedy results. Connect with a provider at rove.co/sparks.
Anybody who's struggling with alcohol should try Or Health. Within a week, the cravings were completely gone. Or Health is safe, science-backed, and it works. I couldn't believe how easy it was. Alcohol doesn't run my life anymore.
Text Newsmax to 710-710 to learn more.
$600 a year. If you're 50 plus, you could save up to that much by switching 2 unlimited lines from Big Wireless to Consumer Cellular. And we've got the same reliable coverage. So why don't you pick up your phone while I take this hammer and... I can't feel my feet. If you're over 50, get 2 unlimited lines for $30 each. And right now, get your second month free. Call Consumer Cellular.
Not again.
Your cold is coming! Your cold is coming!
Thanks, Revere.
We really need to keep Zycam in the house.
Only if you want to shorten your cold. When you feel a cold coming, shorten it with Zycam.
All right, finally, it's Thursday. We got comments for Carl. Let's get right to it. So I got this email the other day from somebody that was pretty interesting. So it was on diversity, and I wanted to just give Brian credit because he said, love your show, glad, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, on to debunking the idea that diversity is always great. If there's a room full of lions, no diversity there. If there's a room full of sheep, no diversity there. Combine the 2 rooms, we now have diversity, but it'll not turn out very well for the sheep. Diversity can be very harmful. Bravo, my man.
Good.
Word. Anyway, let's get to this cat over here. Really? Abolishing the IRS, Carl? Be real. Look, I am being real. We abolished the British for a 2% tax hike in a breakfast beverage. Why is it unrealistic for me to want to abolish an agency whose own employees owe like $50 million on back taxes themselves while trying to monitor my Venmo for over 600 in transactions? So yes, abolish the IRS. The real question is, why would you consider that to be unrealistic? They have failed on every level. Watch, I'm going to get audited now. But taxation is also theft. All right, let's go to this dude with the state of Michigan as his profile picture, whose account is primarily just retweeting Gavin Newsom, saying that my mono on the Pentagon the other night was somehow bad, saying, that's very brave of you to put your stupidity on full display like that. Bravo. He called me something nice. Pete is by far the most unqualified person in Trump's administration. The fact that you're unable to see that shows just how ignorant you are. Then again, look where you work. I wonder what cable news network you're on, because this is actually the fastest growing cable news channel, thanks to you viewers, right now this year. I keep telling your 300 followers whatever you need to. Make yourself feel good about your estrogen-laced croutons and your kale salad. So I venture to say that you have approximately 0 experience also in undertaking any type of military chain of command or what it takes to kill bad guys. So why don't you leave the definition of qualified to someone who actually does know about that stuff? I think you're actually overdue for your next booster, by the way. What do you say, Schmidt?
That's a good one tonight. I like the guy with the diversity thing. That's a great way to put it.
Brian knocked it out of the park, my man.
Pretty good.
All right.
Carl, good to see you.
Word.
We got a busy show coming up here. All right.